Hey everyone, this is the build Hyperion 1. As you saw from the B-roll, you have a general idea of some of the things I've done in this case. I call it Hyperion 1 because it is my base Hyperion to do all my future Hyperions. Base as in, I did a lot of CAD work and measurements that then I can reference later for the future Hyperions. So from the B-roll, you probably saw some of the items I did, but let's just get started. The bars, the top grill, front grill are not actually black. I have a hard light above this case right now, so you might be able to see that it's not. But if I shine this flashlight on, I don't know if it'll come across on camera, but you may be able to see that it is midnight blue, and you may be able to see the metallic sparkles. Okay. Obviously, indoors it is very hard to capture, but when the sun hits it, when it's on the desk, it's stunning. It's a stunning color. And yeah, I guess it's only for my eyes to enjoy, or if this ever makes it to a display of some sort. Actually, I originally planned to put this at PAX East, and things changed, so I didn't. Okay, so let's move forward to what I've done so far. But before, I wanted to just quickly cover the airflow in this case. You'll see from the front, it is pretty much all mesh. And it's fully exposed. You'll see that there are large gaps here, large gaps on the side, and large gaps going across the bottom. And while the top does have a aesthetic design bridge piece, it is not flush enough to cover the gaps. Okay, and this is intentional. So this way, airflow is 100% not an issue in this case. So now I'm going to take off. Yeah, I didn't remove this yet. I'm going to take off the front door. So let's go over the front. I CAD and cut multiple pieces for this front part. First off, let's start with the reservoir. The reservoir is to not only kind of go along with the original aesthetic of the motherboard area, but also to kind of replace the aesthetic that I removed, which is this LED panel that's stock. I replicated this raw guy and the Republic of Gamers inside the reservoir. I know it's not easy to see with the white light shining on a white distro, but it is what it is. This piece, when removed, can also be used as a desk mount piece that you can plug into USB and still light it up, for those of you that don't know. For those of you that are wondering why I am giving you an overview of this case at the same time I'm going over my build, is because I feel for some folks that want to build in a Hyperion, water cool in a Hyperion, they're going to click on this video and they probably want to know a little more about the case that the standard advertising material may not tell them. So what else did I do here? I cut a mid-plate distro. This acts as a PSU cover as well as the distro running the front radiator into this piece, and also connecting the front radiator into the pump. So the loop orders reservoir pump down into the first radiator, which is covered by this bar here, because it's a slim, and then out here, going into the GPU, out the GPU, into the monoblock. Okay, so that's the loop order. And then that comes up to the top radiator, then comes back to the reservoir. So that is the loop order itself. This bottom mid plate is probably easier to show you on a failed piece. This is a failed piece, okay? All right, so you'll see that I have the inlaid pixel raw guy. This piece doesn't have the Hyperion text, which I did do on the final. You'll notice that you're probably wondering, why do I have black specs? These are actually 3D printed 3.76 millimeter squares that I was going to inlay all 254 of them. And I decided not to do that because I don't think it would have been appreciated, because you can't really see it because the GPU is covering it. So I decided not to drive myself crazy with that. But yeah, so that is the mid piece. You'll notice also there is a cover on the side. I inlaid this in because without it, it would just look like a layer on top of the PSU, right? So I taped it on for now. I didn't glue it on yet. So I taped it on so I could remove it and show you guys. You'll notice that without that cover, it's just a distro sitting on a PSU cover, and that's not very attractive. Especially if I come from the side angle, you'll see that because I have that piece, it is therefore a flush transition from this distro to the original PSU cover. And you also see that sitting beneath it is a custom cut piece that holds an 8.8-inch screen. As I've said many times, I do my screens with Python-based software, so you'll notice that I am not running a monitor cable to it. It is grabbing stats via USB, okay? A USB internal connection to the motherboard and displaying that. If I can show you guys what the original part was. For those curious, this is the original piece that comes here. You can see that I've tried to kind of mimic that design. Mine is actually attached no longer with screws. It is magnetic. I inlaid magnets onto it, which then stick to the original cover and this sidebar here. So it's not going anywhere. What else here? So in the front, I've also custom cut a radiator grill that's almost impossible to see in this lighting. So I'm gonna shine my flashlight on it. You can see it is running the, not running, but it is cut to show the new ROG text that's on the front of the door, but also hard to see. What else? I also cut this top part here just to cover the gaps and holes along the top. I think it was aesthetic, but it just kind of looked kind of unfinished to me. So that's why I put this here. On the rear, I have a small distro that just allows the tubing to be run to the rear and straight up rather than coming around, having all this extraness. I just wanted that clean aesthetic. For component selection, this is actually a Z790 Extreme. I know it's white, so people think it's a formula. It's not a formula. It is a Z790 Extreme running a Z790 Extreme EKWB monoblock. The block does come with a direct die kit as well as a delitter, which is kind of expected at $800. Okay, I think they only sold like 60 of them. But anyway, for RAM, these are Asgard Valkyrie RAMs. That's why you probably haven't seen them before. They're super clean. Very basic, nice RGB. I picked it because also it's white and it has these stripes on the side, which kind of correlates with the contrast that I have going on with the rest of the case. Okay, so let's move on to the back. Let me twirl this around. So on the back, as you can see, I did custom cable manage this one. For my builds, I normally don't if it doesn't have a glass panel. If it has a rear glass, then it's gonna have to be custom managed. Otherwise, I just zip tie the hell out of it. These are cable mod Flex, which is paracord. Guys, they're the same as the mod mesh, except for the mod mesh is UV and stiffer. The mod Flex is more flexible. So if you want to do something like this, mod Flex will work out a little better for you. But this panel is the stock, wire cable management. I'm not a fan of it because while it has gaps to pass through cables, but the gap here is not large enough. The gap here doesn't make any sense. And this gap here really needs to be cleared out. Because otherwise you should be able to run cables here. Why, but you can't. You got to run through the bottom. So this is a piece that I'm not a huge fan of. But I did have to remove the stock RGB and fan controller in order to fit the panel because it's a huge chunk and it sticks out by about 25 millimeters almost. So when you have it plugged in, it's just couldn't work with this. So I had to remove it and use my own controller, which is mounted behind this piece that I cut. So that sums up the back. But yeah, that pretty much sums up my build for this case. For those of you that want to see more Hyperions, definitely subscribe because my next one is the EVA 02 Hyperion. And mine, if you haven't seen my socials before, mine is not red and black. It is actually red and white. And also, so is the GPU too. It's not red and black either. So definitely will be unique. I try to do that across all my builds, is to be unique. Well, not unique to the point where it's like super unique, but unique enough that not easily that replicable, pretty much. And yeah, so that pretty much sums it up. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and take care.